I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here. It's another magnificent Monday, and some days because the Sunday was such a blessing, others because of the promise of the week that lies ahead. The question is, are we working together or against each other? Well, it's open line. Let's share with us your thoughts, your comments, your queries. Sometimes, it's not that there are more questions than answers. They're just unasked questions and unanswered. How life is? Well, let's get into it. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back. And as we extend, hopefully, a very warm welcome invitation to each and all alike to share with us. It's a Monday, a society where people don't think and don't engage in intellectual discourse, a society where people don't feel that there's a right and a corresponding responsibility to do so. Maybe it's a society that is going to do a disservice to itself, not just now, but for future generations. Now, we should not be vitriolic, if at all possible. We should not be divisive. But it doesn't mean that because you have a dissenting view, that there still can't be a sense of unity. And in the first glance, you may think, well, does it make sense? Well, maybe the best example, if you look at the highest arbiters in the land, is highest court. And in that court, unless there's a unanimous decision, there'll probably be one or two judges considering, well, what about the other side? Think of its elected arm. You have the cabinet or whatever that particular jurisdiction has as its initially, in its mind in a way, highest political office. You would imagine, at the very least, it should be expected and assumed to be healthy if in their deliberations there is someone asking a question as to why we're doing this or why we're not doing it, or why we're doing it this way or not this way. And at the end of the day, whether it's in our case, as we know, they're bound by collective responsibility, or if it's a case that among the group there is a need for consensus building, a need for a decision to be taken, and a need to respect that decision. What we probably understand, I guess, specifically in the British system, is that if you have amongst the ministers this notion that whatever is being decided is something that they cannot, personally support, there's expectation that they would hand the Prime Minister immediately the resignation. The Prime Minister might say, thank you very much, but I'm not going to accept it because you're invaluable. Might say, you know what, boy, you couldn't ask for that soon enough because I was just about to fire you. Our system allows the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister, the Premier to hire and fire a cabinet, as it should be. Now, in that instance, if you so disagree with something, can you do so in a manner that, one, you stand by your convictions and you step aside by resigning, but you're not so, as they say, foolish in your approach that you cut off your nose to spite your face. And then if so disagree, do you step out and say, listen, I do not think this is the way forward. I believe that, by not doing this, this is the consequence. Or by doing this, this is the consequence. So it's not a case of complaining just to complain's sake. You're offering up viable alternatives, possible solutions. Hopefully, not so dogmatic and adamant that you're unable to listen to reason and to recognize that either you misstepped, or that you've been misguided, misled, or that you've been misinformed, or that, end of the day, you now come to a position not because you've been influenced and induced, you've been somehow incentivized or somehow, position that you feel threatened or intimidated to change your position simply because you've had a change of heart after a period of time by either new information or new experiences. It's only, they say, a fool who's unwilling to listen to correction. I think, I don't know about yourself, but how many times we as individuals, even when we know differently and we know better, we're not willing to take a corrective action, take a different approach because of our egos. We've been bruised. We feel that to change your mind, what is it? The pride goeth before the fall. Well, it's probably easier to speak to division than it is to unity. It's probably easier to oppose something just to oppose because that way you have a voice. But is it better? Is it something that we should be doing? Well, I know that there are times when people will say, oh, you should be the devil's advocate. And I joke and say, no, man. Too many of us advocating without even knowing so. It's not that I deliberately choose not to say it that way. But the premise is that we need to be able to ask a question. We're told that the scientist has a hypothesis and is tested and retested in order to improve the outcome. We see marvelous feats in engineering as a result of an attempt to make things better, safer, more structurally stable. We see improvements in approach to even exercise and nutrition and the like. But the idea is that in the absence of that freedom, the resource to do so, the encouragement and nurturing amongst our students and our general populace as adults, then will we all sort of sing from the same hymnal without realizing that we're singing in the wrong notes or even the words. Our national song, probably many of us were told that it was, for the longest time we were saying the words incorrectly, not how Miss Leela Rothshire had intended, probably rightly so. And there's still some who would consider, well, it's not really the right thing to do because it goes against the initial intent. And the one singular word meant, the plural. It was inclusive. But we've now changed it to include, islands and isles as opposed to the singular. Or many of us would say Cayman and refer only to Grand Cayman, as many of us would say Cayman, and by default, we would be referring to all three islands. Even in the absence of, saying the Cayman Islands, that singular word Cayman, we met the whole, Grand Cayman, as Cayman, as Little Cayman. And yet, despite knowing that, there will be some who would quickly say, well, you obviously are only referring to Grand Cayman. Is it then that we need to be more deliberate, more conscious, and more considerate in what we're saying, how we're saying it, when we're saying it, and how? We look at situations where we would say, wow, that calls for de-escalation, but because of the actions of the parties, it's now become inflamed and contentious, and all of a sudden it results into something that could have and should have never gotten to that stage, all because of, and then we fill in the blanks. Is it the ego and pride of the people? Is it a lack of knowledge and understanding, a willingness and ability to look at the situation from each other's perspective with the intent that just the thing that they wanted to avoid is the thing that they happened to bring about without any effort? But probably was so easy to do that the effort to not, bring it about required a little bit of patience and consideration and tolerance and acceptance of difference of opinion. Well, it may sound like many that that's naive as opposed to the noble endeavor that it was. It may sound like some that it is intent to have this sort of perfect society. But yet, we quickly speak to the perfect storm, the combination of all these things that, but for them, the consequence would not have happened. Sadly, we think of the boat at sea, that because of engine trouble, the misstep of someone, whether it's one of the crewmates or a supplier, perhaps it was the haste in loading the vessel with its provisions and fuel and the like, that something got left at the dock or wasn't sufficiently attended to. And then a freak storm comes, and then that boat, normally that time of year would not have been in such perilous waters, finds itself there. Maybe, some illness on board. All these things just making it seemingly impossible for that boat and its crew to arrive back safely. The perfect storm. Doesn't happen often, but it can, and it does. And when it is, it'll be consequential. Well, as we welcome our callers, we respectfully ask, let's take this first break, and then we'll come right back to the phones. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's back, and it's bigger than ever. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents PACE, the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. That's right, parents, kids, young and old. We want you to be a part of the movement to help bring awareness to the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Starting at the Lions Community Center on Sunday, September 19th. Registration fee is only $25 and includes a free shirt and gift bag. The more people that sign up and register, the bigger the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Sunday, September 19th at the Lions Center. Get ready to pace yourself as the Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. For additional information, please feel free to contact 938-1711 or 526-1711. Sign up today on CaymanActive.com.
For additional information, please email pace@cnw.ky.
The Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life is proudly sponsored by Dart Enterprise, Cayman Seafarers, Maples Group, Bodden Holdings, CUC, Water Authority, and Entech.
Let positive achievement, talent, and hard work be seen and acknowledged. The Proud of the Nominations period for round 13 of the awards program is now open until September 30th. This Youth Service Unit initiative, in partnership with the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage, is a platform to showcase 15 young people ages 10 to 25 years, in the categories of academics, careers, business, sports, culture, and community service. For more information and the nomination form, email info.ysu@gov.ky. Nominate a deserving person today. Acknowledge them because we are proud of them.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is open line as we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us. 1-800-534-8255. We go to the phones. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. Am I on there?
You are indeed. Good afternoon to you. How are you?
Wonderful. I have a very serious question.
Mm-hmm.
Some people who are purportedly positive for COVID-19. I would like to know, where is the virus? Has anyone in the Cayman Islands ever isolated the virus? Has anyone ever seen the virus under an electron microscope? I want all Caymanian politicians. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who. I want an answer.
All right. If I might ask, I mean, with the question, it's probably evident, but if you would help us to understand better the reason for that. So we've tested for it. We have what it would be the benefit of now isolating it and seeing it under a microscope from your perspective.
Make sure it is really there. Let me give you a study that was done in Wuhan City back after almost a 3-month lockdown last year.
Mm-hmm.
Did it about 5 weeks after the lockdown, and the city commissioned mass testing of the population, and they tested over 9 million, almost 10 million as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
They found that the genetic testing, the PCR type testing, it was positive in 300 people.
Out of 10 million. Okay.
They also looked at over 34,000 people who had apparently proven COVID-19. Out of that group, they got 107 repositives. So out of those 407 positives, they ran viral cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to let you know that on their running of viral cultures, they were unable to isolate even one of the SARS-CoV virus.
Okay.
SARS-CoV-2.
Okay.
Out of 407 positives. And these are positives by the RNA, the nucleic acid testing.
Okay.
And so I would like to know, as one who spent many years in treating people, I would like to know, because the gold standard of the true diagnosis of any infectious agent is the culture.
Okay.
And you will also find in the literature, some of the literature is behind the times.
Mm-hmm.
And I cite you another instance when they got the illness up in Canada. McMaster's University ran cultures, and they all on those cultures. They also looked for the virus under the electron microscope.
Okay.
And anybody can go and look it up, and they can actually see a picture of the viruses.
So if I could then ask of you, we understand, and I guess you being a scientist can help us to maybe better understand it, but we understand that a regular patient going to the physician and before the physician continues the accepted regimen, let's say it's continuing antibiotics or the like, they may take a sputum culture, for instance, take a culture of the thing to see which antibiotic treatment would be best, which one would, sort of respond to better for the treatment. That's what we gather would happen using the laboratory testing, right?
Yes, it's a true guide to treatment.
Right. And in this instance then, if we have done a test of sorts to say, yes, this person is positive, again, not to inflame, not to disrespect, and certainly hope that it doesn't display anything otherwise. In this instance then, if we have done a test that says this person is positive for this thing, in this case, this is SARS-CoV-2, would that not in and of itself, despite what you are asking us to consider, be sufficient for us to draw the inference and conclude that therefore the test says positive, so therefore the virus must be present without the culture?
No, sir.
Okay.
That's not it.
Okay.
That's not it. What you're doing, you're guessing in the dark. And in medicine, that's something you would like to avoid.
So, like the example...
So you can do tests for, like, say, colon cancer, and a test can come up positive, one of the tests. But until you see those cancer cells under the microscope, you're still shooting in the dark.
Okay. And as you shared that, I think back to the little I understand relative to, say, the dispensation of antibiotics to treat perhaps a known ailment, that the physician wants the laboratory test to confirm what particular thing is occurring there, what bacteria and the like, so that they would know which antibiotic would be best. Are you saying, though, in this instance, that should be what we should be doing?
We should be able to look for the virus in those people who are positive.
Okay, but do we have that? And I'm not...
PCR test, as far as I know, the Cayman Islands does not have an electron microscope.
Okay, but it must be some in the region, if not the UK and the US and Canada and other, much more advanced economies should have those. So, are they doing it over there as well?
Well, the thing is, they are mostly relying on a PCR test. Now, they certainly didn't do that in China after the mass lockdown in Wuhan. And the Canadians at McMaster University, they proved that the virus was present in Canada by seeing it under the electron microscope. So what I'm asking, where is this virus in the Cayman Islands?
Well, I do hear what you're saying. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but the question then sort of saying if the experts to know, those in authority administering the seemingly accepted PCR test as the way to do it, then in the absence of someone challenging that, which presumably is what you're sharing, we continue to labor on the pure darkness as you share?
Well, if you're going to make a lot of very serious decisions on a PCR test and the virus is really not there, why not try to find the virus?
Well, I believe in the absence of your question, most of us would have made the assumption that if the test comes back positive, then therefore the virus must be present.
No, they can't. You cannot assume that.
Okay.
That is not the science. That is not the science, because antigen tests, PCR tests, those have their false positives and false negatives.
Well, I just quickly reflect on discussions with physicians here in relation to doing the virtual colonoscopy versus doing the actual one, suggesting that the virtual less invasive and can be helpful, but isn't as conclusive as the actual one, and where the polyps can be removed then and there as well. We tend to employ one standard in one instance. Maybe this is the instance where, given the information available, this might be the way to go because it's cost effective, it's efficient, it helps us to get to a space where we think we should be.
Yes, we need to seek truth. And that is certainly in full accordance with the scripture. Solomon said, you don't make decisions until you know all the facts.
Well, with that in mind, then what do we do if what you're suggesting is the scientific, is it the scientific accepted approach ordinarily?
What we do is the government should pursue those places which have the technology that's beyond what's being used in Cayman to make decisions from.
Okay. Well, is it then that we have moved too far, too fast, and we've gone to that space where really and truly now we don't really have to worry about it because at the end of the day we've made that decision?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, intriguing to see where we are then, because I think this particular issue has pitted family member against family member, has caused such a growing division in our society that it may be that we're no longer, in a very civil, respectful, responsible manner, have any sort of semblance of a discussion, given that I think, at least in my perspective, the outcome is that everybody is as safe and healthy and as protected as possible.
Well, you see, that's where true science comes in. True science does not use just a test, just a PCR test, with its various and sundry different cycle thresholds to prove that someone really has the virus. That would be a theory that has been disproven. And so we should not rely on just these screening type tests that have been done.
Well, I take your perspective, given, as you shared, that's your background, forte, you have that knowledge and experience. But I believe most of us are very trusting of those in authority and have been, very much willing to present ourselves for the PCR testing, whatever discomfort, little as it may be for some, because they think that's what we do, given the amount of tests administered and injections already. Maybe we've already gone beyond, the defense line.
Well, we need to get the true science. We need to find out, does that virus exist in the Cayman Islands? Did it ever exist in the Cayman Islands? You have people who test positive, right? That does not equal the presence of the virus.
Well, I learned something new today.
Yes, yeah. Furthermore, we're going to have variants. More and more variants beyond the Delta and the Mu. And I would admonish people, including all of our leaders, to look at the statistics that are coming out of Public Health England. And this is very, very revealing.
But I've attempted, just for my own edification, to look at some of the statistics and information from the official sources, and sometimes the way it's presented isn't that clear. It isn't immediately to the front. You got to kind of dig into it. You got to kind of decipher it. I wonder if that's just because we speak in a certain way to an audience that we're accustomed to, without appreciating that not everybody has that same level of jargon or intellect or the like. For instance, I gather that since February of this year, according to statistics officially available through the UK, that the number of deaths amongst those who have been vaccinated isn't necessarily what is reported in the media.
That's correct. 68% of the deaths from the Delta variant, that's between February and August, occurred in the vaccinated. And but furthermore, you don't get any information on the prognosis of a person who has had myocarditis. So for example, a person who has had myocarditis
Mm-hmm.
At 5 years out after the episode, can have up to 72% death rate. That is worse. That is worse than the worst heart attack.
Wow. This is where I think time, this is longer than rope. If you would, with great respect, let us pause for this scheduled break, and maybe we can continue discussing at some other time, huh?
Yes, some other time.
Yes, sir.
Some other time.
All right.
But I still need answers to the question.
Right. Well, thank you for that, sir. And maybe that will not go unanswered. Maybe we'll see the importance of it, or at least counter it with equally convincing response. Let's pause and take this break. When we return, more Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Had a look at those investment options yet?
Too busy. Look at today. Workout, breakfast, take the kids to school, back-to-back meetings, take Pepper to the vet, and she's apparently got allergies now, so... And that was all before 12. But you look relaxed.
That's because my money's as busy as you.
With RF, you can access the best in local and international investments to keep your money busy, so you can spend more time focusing on you. Contact us at rfgroup.com to find out more. RF, money at work.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Look at you, listening to the radio, tuning in, getting stuff done. Total doer. Maybe you're driving, maybe you're getting your oil changed, or grabbing some chicken. Maybe you're doing something that's nobody's business but yours. Hey, that's cool. We're all doing something. Now you can join a whole new community of doers doing more on findyellow.com. With custom search, local experts, and trusted reviews, whatever you're doing, get it done on findyellow.com.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. As we invite you to be a part of our discussion, the phone lines are open. It's a Monday. Look at the calendar, it'll probably tell you some date in September, but then again, that depends on which calendar you subscribe to. Because some of us probably are aware that there are many calendars in the world, and yet there's one that's probably generally accepted and others are disputed. Like anything, are we accepting because we know not in it differently, or is it that we're so trusting? How many of us come in and sit at the desk and the chair that we sat on always, and we did a second thought? Wonder, did someone deliberately or inadvertently put something in the chair? Has the chair been structurally compromised? Well, we can trust but verify, as the Russian proverb asks, or we can just be on faith or blindly respectful of authority and the positions that are taken. And when there is a question, is it that we look at it and say, oh, that person is just, adding fuel to the fire? Or is it, hey, wow, it's important that we are able to ask, because that way we get not just answers, but we can advance a particular cause. We can make things that much better. But are we receptive to hearing the message, or are we always willing to condemn the messenger? 949-8037, 949-8037. Toll free with the kind compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Now, there's also another way, WhatsApp, 925-3261. You imagine we're giving that much credence. We should probably charge them for the advertising as much as we say that. But you can record a voice note, or you can type it and send it across. Some of us even employ effectively that text-to-speech kind of deal. Well, we like to hear from you, and we always believe that if you're willing to share a thought, we should at least be that much respectful to listen and invite others to do so. Because it may cement our thoughts, it may cause us to be that much better, because now we're more convinced of our positions, and we're much better informed, and so we're much better. It's not what we always want to be. Not better than John and Mary and Peter and Simon, but better than we were yesterday or last week. Probably why we eat in our minds, healthy choices, why we try to exercise, why we try to follow our physician's advice in terms of getting a little fresh air. We want to be better, healthy, better. 949-8037, 949-8037, or 1-800-534-8255. We can talk about anything, but given the recent presentations from a number of individuals, we thought that we would ask a couple of things and you can decide. Now, as a caveat, this was driven by people in the private sector, some of whom are sort of at the stage where they were thinking of scaling back, and so they can have more time to enjoy life after many years of working long extended hours and laboring in a way that they thought, it's a lot of toil. Now it's time to play. And some of whom are very much still active in their businesses. But they say that in the Cayman context, maybe very much like the model in other places, that when it comes to looking at the cost of living, the quality of life, the standard of living, it always seems to be that it's the government that should be doing this, as opposed to what role the private sector can play. For instance, concessions, that word was used many times in the discussion, seem to be that thing that we extend to foreign direct investment. But why not to any investor in a particular industry? If you're doing this and the consequence of this is this, then therefore you qualify for this if you meet this criteria. Quite easy to establish. There's no question of, too much bureaucracy, no allegation, perception, or suspicion or otherwise that, this is a corrupt deal or this is offered for this reason. None of that, because it's all laid out and everybody understands the criteria. Secondly, the person says, well, why is it that it's only the government that should be offering up some sort of concession? If it's not an incentive to do a project that makes it seemingly more profitable, or at least but for the concession it would not be profitable. But when it comes to fees, government gives a concession by reducing fees in certain areas for certain categories. Not that those are not necessary or welcome or the smart thing to do. But why is it only that the government offers that? The consequence being that results in less revenue to a government, which means less money available for the government to have to do things, introduce new programs, pay for new programs, pay for the established and existing programs, or to fund ongoing capital projects or even new projects. Less money means less money. So do you raise taxes in another area? Do you borrow? But what about private sector? What is it that the private sector can do to reduce the cost? Not just the supermarkets, but maybe the fees at banks, the other charges that people pay in order to get a particular good or service. Now, one of the individuals in the group says, well, we're in business to make money. And if we reduce fees, then we make less money. And less money means less profit, less incentive to invest and expand the business, inability to pay staff. So why should it be that the cost of living consideration should have to be factored by the private sector's costs? Well, one individual immediately said, the minute you start doing that, now you're talking about a socialist society. that led to a whole different political discussion as opposed to what it is in our world, that this capitalist approach. Now, are we in our discussion? But think about it. Yeah, if all of the costs are borne by government, if all of the revenue streams are being either privatized or somehow so significantly reduced that the government is sort of balance sheet is one-sided, strictly expense, no income. Is that a signal, Ms. Souza, for the call? Where are we? Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, how are you today, my friend? How are you?
I'm all right, but concerned.
Well, I want to hear your concerns. Tell me.
Dwayne, first, this breach in the quarantine is very concerning to the society. It's concerning for everyone in Cayman. And it's becoming very ridiculous how, the people are taking, this thing as, the incident happened in Bodentown. The police brought this lady back to the house and she don't want to go inside and all of that. And those local transmission cases are from those people who come from outside. And people are lying. They are not telling the truth. And I'm here today to inform the authority. There is a lady from the Philippines. She in Manila airport. They captured this lady with Delta. She was heading to Cayman. She worked in the Kimpton Hotel. The plane and the flight, the whole flight have been canceled because of this woman. I have the name of the lady. I have the evidence of this incident in my phone. Anybody from the health authority wants the name and...
But if she is that far away en route, and presumably the process works effectively for whatever the motivation is, but to prevent people from either deliberately or inadvertently traveling from one jurisdiction to the next, would that then not suffice in a lane of affairs that you may have, that such an occurrence wouldn't happen? All right. My instructions, my friend, we got that news. Let's talk when we're ready. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
2 people are arrested after a raid at a West Bay home on Friday. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service says a 23-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman were arrested on suspicion of ganja with the intent to supply and other related offenses. After a search of the home they were in led to the recovery of some 5 pounds of ganja and other drug-related paraphernalia. They were interviewed and bailed. Turning to international news now, the BBC has found that at least 20 civilians have been killed in Afghanistan's Panjshir Valley, which has seen fighting between the Taliban and opposition forces. Communications have been cut in the valley, making reporting difficult, but the BBC has evidence of Taliban killings despite promises of restraint. Footage from a dusty roadside shows a man wearing military gear surrounded by Taliban fighters. Gunfire rings out and he slumps to the ground. It is not clear if the man killed was an army member. Combat uniforms are common in the region. The BBC has established there have been at least 20 such deaths. School started Monday for about 1 million New York City public school students in the nation's largest experiment of in-person learning during the coronavirus pandemic. The first day of school coincided with several milestones in the city's pandemic recovery that hinge on vaccine mandates. Nearly all of the city's 300,000 employees were required to be back in their workplaces in person Monday as the city ended remote work. Most will either need to be vaccinated or undergo weekly COVID-19 testing to remain in their jobs. And a man who completed 21 days of mandatory quarantine upon returning to China from overseas has been identified as the likely source of a new outbreak, raising questions over the sustainability of the country's stringent zero-COVID strategy. The fresh outbreak in Fujian province on China's southeastern coast has infected more than 60 people, including 15 elementary school pupils. It emerged just 2 weeks after China contained its worst coronavirus flare-up in more than a year, highlighting the increasing challenge posed by the highly contagious Delta variant, even to a country with some of the world's strictest, most far-reaching containment measures. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is Open Line here on today's Monday's edition of Talk Today, as we invite you to share with us. To the last caller, hopefully it did not come across that we were impeding his opportunity to share thoughts, but got to do a little bit better on my part. Maybe I can find a way to restructure some things, but that news has to go. Why? We need to be informed. So it's 5 past and thereabouts, an hour of 1, some would say 13. And we got a good bit to go. So let's hear from you. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Now, in addition to what we were talking about earlier relative to all of the sort of divided discussions that we're having on many issues, the notion of how people find it harder to make ends meet isn't one that has just sort of come into play. Many times over the years, there have been much question about how people are able to make ends meet, to live and work in this country. Not just those who have come here. Some have labeled them as economic refugees. Others have, ascribed other terms to them. But if we can find a way to work together and live and be happy and healthier and support either families in other places, whether it's ones that we sponsor or it's our own, or whether we want to sort of, have a nest egg elsewhere. But if it's becoming a challenge to live in a jurisdiction, are we acknowledging that and doing things to address it? Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Not too bad, General. How are you today?
Oh, I'm just one bad.
Just one bad. I tell you, man, it's better than being too bad.
I know. Yeah, it's a lot to be thankful for. A very nice sunny day, and
yes, sir.
Already I can see a change in the weather conditions coming up. So
pray that we don't have any more weather systems bothering us as we go on.
Don't even think about it. If any system is going to bother you, it's going to be a cooler system. Is that okay?
Well, we can't go fishing. So what's that country song? It's, too hot for golf, too hot for fish, and too cold at home.
Right. Yeah, but just quickly.
Mm-hmm.
A gentleman a while ago was talking about where is the virus.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I asked that gentleman, I think he might have been in the talk show 2 days on Succession. And my question, just like he's asking a question and needs or wants an answer,
mm-hmm.
I was asking him this question.
Mm-hmm.
If the world had just stood still in neutral, nobody did anything,
mm-hmm.
what would have been, in his opinion, if nothing have been tried in all of this time, what would have been the results
mm-hmm.
until this day? And I've never got a straightforward answer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting for that answer.
Okay. Well, if I could maybe ask you, because your question is certainly relevant, but maybe ask two things, only with a view of trying to encourage dialogue, stimulate discussion, as it were, and understanding increasingly that we are become so divided that no longer we have a respect for dissenting views or even questions. So let's ask two things then. What do we say? What do we say to those who say, well, we need time to understand certain things, and maybe it's an example that might help us, but we're told that if you allow concrete to dry, slowly, keeping it, moisture, the water it a little bit, that it'll dry and it'll harden and it'll be stronger, as opposed to pouring it in the midday sun and, don't water the foundation and it'll crack in short order. Would time give us an opportunity, if we do have it, to allow whatever potential consequences would come with the passage of time?
It looks like I got to answer my own question.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing had been tried, and what they say, nothing tried, nothing accomplished.
Yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
In my opinion,
mm-hmm.
it would have been devastation for the world. We would have, without a doubt, had millions upon millions of people dead. So, looking at it, sometimes it's better to think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, shall I say, to think positive without a doubt that we should be fine. And I'm not telling anybody to take it and not to take it.
Mm-hmm,
of course, I took it, and I feel okay.
Right.
But if you look around and see those that are passing away, drawing their last breath,
mm-hmm.
they're telling their loved ones, oh, go ahead, take it, don't worry. And the guys are saying that dying, I wish I had took it. So besides,
mm-hmm.
the FDA has now approved 100% safe. So, I think we have more than that to really consider. What we should have been considering is what happened just over the weekend. There's no excuse for what happened. And I have, in my opinion, again, I think it was, if it wasn't premeditated, it was absolutely carelessly.
Irresponsible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what happened now?
Mm-hmm.
What happened now that you can just take it with a grain of salt? We're going to just play softball?
But then, if, as you share that, there are many who say nothing's going to happen. I mean, there's no accountability. The minute that there is, people are going to say, oh, you're anti-this, you're that, and the next thing. So why is it then that there's a perception that something should be done but nothing will happen? Why is that?
Well, I can tell you again, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
I have a lot of opinions.
That's fine.
Why is nothing happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, the girl that came in from the United States maybe a year ago,
mm-hmm.
remembered she broke the curfew. She was locked up, thrown in jail,
mm-hmm.
and what happened? She was deported.
Mm-hmm.
But is it because of some connection that we have into these people that they blend in better, not better, but more popular with us than other people? We need hardcore players on the field. This is not a softball or a soft boy game. We need to get with it, man. We got so many people that look at it and take it to the green salt. That's fine. Hey, I want to congratulate that guy. Besides, he used some obscene language.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name is Mr. McHugh from Kim and Brack.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly and precisely so. That is what we need, man. Come on, get on with it. This country could be bought to its knees if this thing is going on. This is nothing to play with.
So then, with that in mind, if I'm hearing you correctly, there needs to be accountability, there needs to be responsibility, there needs to be leadership, from what I'm hearing you say. So what do we do if there isn't happening? Because I would venture to say that the success of a nation depends on the civility and responsibility of its citizens. So if we are of this particular view, all of us, that we prepared to work together to do this thing because it's important for all of us, individually as well as our families, what are we going to do then if nothing is happening by that thing that we call authority? The leadership, whether it's elected, political, appointed, business, ecclesiastical, the elite, as it were.
Well, I must be honest with you up front. I think a lot of them that is in authority
mm-hmm.
have lost my respect. Okay? nobody is perfect. Everybody has their faults, but come on. What are we doing? What are we doing with this thing, man? I mean, like that gentleman said, man, this is almost like some kind of a sabotage. I mean, this is a thing with life and death. And our population is precisely limited, extremely limited to the amount of people that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like some other country or island that have a few million people. So it takes nothing to wipe us out. And the big question again, are we prepared in case next week you hear that, it's 40 or 50 people got it? Are we prepared to handle that?
That should not be a question that is asked lately and one that's ignored in this answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, maybe this is part of the issue that we're having, and with great deference to you and the caller before, the gentleman who asked, well, has the virus been isolated? I must share that I normally don't make assumptions, but I assume, with this test, because it's positive, that means that the virus is present. I'm not a doctor, scientist, or otherwise, and as a physician, he's saying, hey, that's not the case. Now, is he right? Well, it sort of sounds convincing. Is it necessary to isolate it? Maybe, maybe not. But yes, sir.
There's with no being
no malice
or trying to embarrass someone, but there is nothing for common sense, no room for common sense besides common sense. Yeah. I'm not a physician, but common sense will tell you, if someone had the virus and they were cured by a physician, it tells you, well, they had the virus just like you have a flu.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, well, where is the virus? If that person had a flu or whatever it was, even tuberculosis, and they were cured, then they were cured from whatever that infection or disease was.
Right. But we are also, as you said, common sense. We're also aware that, trying to not lead such a stressful life, having a properly nutritious, nutritionally balanced diet, exercise, good sleep, these are things that seemingly would be helpful to us. Supplements, vitamins and minerals when we need. But how many of us, because we can't afford it, or because they're not readily available or whatever, we look at presumably what we've been hearing globally, but even in the Cayman context, that a large majority of a populace is vitamin D deficient. Now, you would think living in the sunshine, as it were, that would not be an issue. With so much, is it that we have made our bodies more susceptible to illnesses because we are unhealthy in our lifestyles?
I don't think that I can agree with that, because if you remember right, just a few short, maybe 2 weeks ago, we was practically virus free.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now all of a sudden that this thing happened over the weekend, and you hear about other people and how many people has got it and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So it is extremely contagious, yes, and that is why we probably got to shut down ourselves in our own environment, our own property. And that I see right now is probably the best way to go about this thing. Not mix and mingling, and use your wipes and your sanitizers and so on. But other people may not be so careful, and, hell or high tide, let's go for it. So it is a dangerous precedent that people would set if we don't decide that we're going to really take control and charge of what we're doing and where we're going.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if we are indeed looking at this with that perspective, and I'm mindful. I have no issue sharing an opinion or a view. Hopefully it's a considered one in any respect. What I like is, when it's done, that the response is equally respectful and responsible, so that we can have a meaningful dialogue. But I give us an example. It's not to be political, or certainly not to incite people improperly. This notion that I've heard repeatedly in the last weeks, that we have this political system now that puts us in a place where we have one party in power and then an official opposition as the government in waiting. And again, this last 3-4 days, there are countless comments from people who said, well, the opposition was crying for the borders to be open not long ago, and now they've been sort of announced, they're now crying, why is the government opening the borders? So just to oppose sake, I don't know. That's not an answer for me. But to your point, are we going to continue to work together, or are we going to continue to work against each other?
Yeah, well, politics is a very, very nasty thing nasty taste in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But no one can deny the fact that, shall I say, the last government handled this situation with the pandemic very professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Even the government in power is saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need some hardcore guys that play hard ball. I mean, it is in my opinion as well, that's like a terrorist attack. If the shoe had been on the other foot, and that had been a Caymanian going vice versa, in that country, another country, knowing well that person was infected, I again will ask another question: what would have been the results? We got too much people just playing like a circus. That's what I see. It's a game.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think I've said enough today.
Yes, sir.
And I thank you so much for listening to me, and have a pleasant day.
You do as well. And thank you for that. And maybe after you come back, there may be somebody else who would agree or disagree or just open up, another corner. Well, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
James William Algernon Ryan, JP, 1913 to 2007. Mr. Algie Ryan served for 17 years as head teacher in Cayman Brac. He also had a night school and taught commercial subjects, including typing and accounting. He later became a realtor, an attorney, and an insurance agent. He is today the longest-serving realtor in the Cayman Islands. He operated a weekly boat service between Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, transporting mail, cargo, and passengers. Later, he was a director of Little Cayman Enterprises, the company that developed the Southern Cross Club, the first guest facility on Little Cayman. In the early 1960s, he leased land and oversaw the construction of the Edward Bawden Airfield in Little Cayman, which is still in use today. He served for a time in the Legislative Assembly as a nominated member.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
A laptop is an essential tool that facilitates teaching and learning in the new digital society. Through the One-to-One Laptop Initiative, the Ministry of Education has purchased laptops for every child enrolled in government, primary and secondary schools. Collect a laptop from your child's school today and ensure that your child is not left behind as we forge ahead with our digital education strategy. This is a message from the Ministry of Education.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thank you for joining us as we invite you to share your thoughts with us. In 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. It seems that our discussions are either consumed by the ongoing situation that we face with globally. Seems that no matter where we turn, that is probably the primary thing in the media, as it should be. Now the question is, how do we move forward together? Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Okay, new word for the day. How are you?
Blessed and thankful. How are you?
I'm blessed. I don't know how thankful I am to my earthly management, but anyhow, let's go with this. I heard this last night or night before, I don't know. But this phraseology is hierarchy of suffering.
Hierarchy of suffering. Wow.
Mm-hmm. You know, you as an instructor, how that go? I would need a little instruction on that.
Yeah.
Hierarchy of suffering. I say, but that says Cayman Islands. I tried to rate it and find out how many C's it had, how many A's, and how many Y's, and all that. But it kind of like not looking like the puzzle now really working out. But it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you asking some questions, some rhetorical questions about this and that and the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had business be looking like a bag done it.
Mm-hmm.
I had something called the recall vote. I don't know nothing about it. I confess to that. Still don't know nothing about it. But it sounded so good. That when they get on your last, best nerve, because it seems like the goalpost slips all the time. They go after one bunch of people negatively. That the poor generational Cayman, we feel so much, but Cayman is such a prized place to be. Somehow we can't enjoy it. I don't think they enjoy it because already they pulled a different direction if they would just tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, the hierarchy of sufferings, if you can explain that to us one day next week.
All right. Well, as you said,
time to work at that.
Appreciate it. But let me then ask, not necessarily that I would ask you, but certainly always appreciate your response from you if you so choose, but others, we gather from the Caribbean News Update and the like that. Is it? Which one? The Caribbean Islands now?
I'm here on the phone.
Has
I come to you.
All right. Has set up.
No, you go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no, thank you. You're able.
No.
To multitask, but one of the Caribbean Islands have set up this ethics committee that should it, according to its Minister for Health, become necessary, they can decide who is able to access medical treatment and who isn't. And they thought that they would do this beforehand as a very preemptive, proactive way of ensuring that it's as fair and as civil and ethical and the like. Now, I've had a number of people weigh in, just in private conversation, share their thoughts, but I'm wondering if that's where we're at and if this is a precursor of things to come. Hierarchy of suffering, huh?
Yeah, hierarchy of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Take me. I wish it was me.
Okay. But what do we do now? I mean, what do we do?
Do we do?
Uh-huh.
I guess we could stop being politically lazy. And politically want to understand who we are and where we are. And I'm just talking to generational Caymanians because they're the only politically lazy people in the country is generational Caymanians. We could start right there. And, you got to know when people blowing smoke at you, it just don't make sense. I don't know what's wrong with us. I mean, this debacle that went on there, people saying, sabotage. Well, I would go a little further and say espionage and anything else that could go along with that. That's words that we don't use every day, but we need to drag out the dictionary and run with it a little bit because it don't seem right. It just don't seem right. It seems like everybody, regionally too, is a little covetous out here, man. And we like to brag and boast sometimes. Sometimes we got to hold it down. We can talk about, if you come from the Cayman Islands, you don't have to quarantine, and we're such a green country, and, on and on the whole 9-10 years. People don't like us like that.
But are we?
I can't see it. All I'm saying is I cannot see it, and somebody needs to say why, how, where, when.
Mm-hmm.
It don't seem right. And we're supposed to be this first world country, and we're coming in like what the old people used to talk about. The old white people that used to come here on holiday when they was accusing us of being a banana republic. But look like we're living up to the call now, man. We just can't get it right.
So something what do we do?
As basic can be.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it wrong. We got it so wrong. Wrong. I don't know how we could get it right afterward, and I'm a little bit questioning that too. We got it wrong, and then we got it right.
But how is it that we got it wrong? I mean, because if what you were sharing is the actual reality of what is transpiring, right? And we seem, and I say this carefully, but I say it with a sense that I've received it from enough people to realize that it isn't something that is only in one quarter. So whether we look at it from the nationality, the age, the gender, whether their economic status is this or their political or immigration status, it would seem that only in my limited regard that people are naturally concerned for their personal safety. They believe that breaches are occurring frequently, that there should be more sanctions when it occurs, and to the words that have been used, whether it's sabotage or was it, terrorist attack. I mean, people use words without probably looking at the emotive side of things. But if things are happening and checks and balances are not effective, is there accountability? Is there a sense of responsibility?
None of sense of responsibility when it comes to Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
From nobody. Them people that making the big money, that beg leadership positions, and they can do this and they can do that, and they can make, because I don't know who don't want their own country to be great, and they can make Cayman great, and so on and so forth. Where are they now? Hiding where? Why?
But
why?
To your point, and I'm very mindful of our schedule, break. But to your point, if those people, whether they were former politicians or aspiring politicians, whether they are citizens in their community who volunteer, whether they got status PR or they've only been here for a while, or they've been here for generations, how many times if that those same individuals have said something publicly or even in their own circle have been castigated for saying that, so that they think, well, what's the point? I mean, I'm going to be maligned for it and kicked in the teeth.
I can see that. I can see it.
So,
I go through it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I am front page because I want to shut my mouth.
Well, maybe.
I am front page because I want to shut my mouth. But anytime it affects Cayman, as long as I'm standing, they can have to send Argyle to chop me up and cut me down, because this is my country.
Right.
So you hear me say, every breath of breeze, every green of sun, every green leaf, and otherwise, it's mine. And if we Caymanians who can go boneyard and find our spot, don't open our mouths, what else can we expect? We can expect it over and over and over again. The only thing this time, it's not giving away a road. It's not giving away just a couple plots of land. It's not some convoluted 99-year lease piece of land. This is about life and death.
All right.
And that is not life and death in December. I don't suppose it lasts that long when you get this thing called COVID-19 and it intends to take you. You go quick.
Well,
so this is a totally different kettle of fish. But we've been falling for this foolishness for generations, if not, let's say decades, not to be too extreme, because I don't like to be too extreme. Let's say decades. We've been on this road for decades, sitting down, being lazy about ourselves, can't talk, can't help out, can't nothing. And the people just come, and the people that come in the plane, these little harmless just comers, they come with their pockets full of requests written down on a piece of maybe a piece of yellow leaf paper, and they send it out. But by evening they got what they want, and just sitting down and mumble, and can't get up and stand up and demand anything for ourselves. So make us feel it. We gonna die in this one.
Well,
Remember, we were supposed to open up the day of or the day after this debacle. We were supposed to open up first of the first phase opening up, and look at where we are. You got people running up and down the neighborhood talking about, no, you can't. I'm not going back up in the house. Go up in the house, baby, and sit down for 14 days. Sit down. This is about life and death. Go sit down for 14 days. Make the rest of us listen to you one day.
Be respectful and responsible, right? Yeah.
Where is everybody? At that time, I hear about lockdown, and I not against lockdown. I was locked down before, and I was almost happy. I was very satisfied. I didn't have any lockdown horrors. I didn't have anything like that. It was inconvenient. It made my life harder. I didn't know it could get harder, but it got that way. But it didn't kill me, and I did. Everybody around me still living, and we going on. We're talking about you can't stay inside. The government is taking away your will. Our government, we don't have no will. Our government done already taken away if it was possible. So I don't know what we're talking about.
All right.
But anyhow, it's not going to get no better for Cayman because Caymanians will not be smart, and Caymanians fall in the I don't know what you call it, the trap of having people analyze and quantify us. Caymanians not stupid. Someone bad, but I'm lazy, but they're not stupid.
Well,
you can think.
Yeah. Well,
Think. Don't make anybody come and tell you that the sun is shining and you look up and you see that night is upon you. That's moonlight. That's not sunshine. It's as simple as all that. Anyway, you have a nice day. I'm still wondering how it get you.
Well, you are a little much wisdom. So thanks for sharing with us, all right?
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And to our callers, crave your indulgence. Let us pause and take a break. When we come back, we'll join you. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Optical Outlook Caymanian Village location has moved. Same great services and products, new location. We've moved to Anderson Square in central Georgetown. It's a much larger space with dedicated parking. Please call us on 746-2020 to make your appointment at our new location today. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Please come see the difference with Optical Outlook, Cayman's premier optical provider.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamp Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
Radio Cayman, your #1 community station, would like to remind you that we are in the hurricane season, and in order to survive a hurricane, you need to be prepared. If official sources say a hurricane is imminent, please board up or shutter up windows in your home or place of business. Remember to use good lumber, as makeshift boarding may actually cause more damage. Also put strong bracing on outside doors so that they are not blown off or blown in.
This hurricane advice was brought to you by Radio Cayman, your caring community radio station.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back, and thank you for joining us. It is open line. We've got a number of callers to take, and thank you so much for sharing with us as we go to our phones. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you today?
Hello. Yes, no, I didn't realize I was on the line.
Yes, sir. Our apologies.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling.
No, it's understandable.
Yes, sir.
I just like to comment here quickly on the last two callers. Listen, our friend Mr. Harmon there, what he said, and it's, about the weather too. I was saying the same thing the last few days, that I can definitely sense a change in it, and hopefully it definitely looks towards some cooler weather. I can see that in the evenings, the usual sort of October weather coming in early. Let's hope it is. And I agree with him 100%, taking this thing seriously. Those and we have to assume that what has been done is the right thing, and it seems so. That we obey and we follow and be disciplined people and get our vaccinations and follow what the technocrats and the technical people and the scientists have said, and assume, because as the Bible tells you, faith, you have faith in something. Most people are of the Christian faith here. Been that way, Christian conservative country, and it have it through faith. We haven't seen it, but we know it's there, as St. Paul said about that with faith, and I think it was all the apostles too. Anyhow, we have to definitely take it seriously, and with the breaking of these quarantines and so forth, we know what's happening with people going in and mixing with them and all that. And I don't see why we can curtail this. We can do something about it rapidly. We now have a regiment. Let us put them to use on that, because the police can be very occupied with other things. We see the space crime, serious crime, and so forth. We can do that. I don't see why we can't utilize them for that purpose, to be surveilling, looking out for this, and doing what needs to be done.
But what would there be with the regiment, so aka military? If you put the regiment, the military.
Sir, military, that's what the regiment
yes,
is.
Sir.
We had them there before.
Right.
We had it before. We go through their history.
Right.
Big part of it.
Right. So we know now that we have... from what I gather and seen, we have contracted private security at the facilities. We have them supplemented by
some facilities, sir.
Yeah.
Not all.
Right. Yes, sir.
Many
Thanks, sir.
facilities, I believe, those that are the ones that are in default, if I may use that nomenclature, are not.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's where the problem lies. With that, we don't need to have. But we have a regiment, can travel around and look around and more or less impartial and then we'll get some action there. That is what.
So what does that action look like? I mean, so we're using the military to do this now.
Stop you.
Sorry?
We're going to stop you. It's simple. That's what we're going to do. We're going to stop you going there and see where you shouldn't be. Good, fine. It's so simple. Very, very simple. The simplest way to solve anything, to me, is always the best way. Sometimes it's not easy. This is a very serious thing. As my friend here was saying, it's very serious. This is like a war. And we have to act as if it's a war, and we're at war with this virus and so forth, and that's the only way you conquer anything, by taking a serious approach to it, a very serious approach to it. I don't see why we can't utilize them to do this. We have to stop this. People breaking and just thinking that this is okay. We've been so good here. Everything has been going so right because of our proper steps taken by our government, previous government, and now we see this new government is following suit, and so forth. So we can't lose all that what we have achieved. And I think we've got to remember one thing here, which is, as that lady was just saying, alluding to something, the last 50 years ago, we never dreamt that we, generational Caymanians, would be a minority in our own country. We never dreamt that. And now we see it, definitely. And we are about the only ones in the whole Caribbean, particularly in the Caribbean, maybe in the world, like this, that we are a minority. And it's very difficult to grasp that situation coming from the last just 50 years, 40 years, maybe even less. But I remember very well, we have to focus on getting ourselves into first gear and getting understanding that for us to survive, we must take a serious look at things, a very serious look at things. We have to maybe think about, and it should have been thought about a long time ago, because I've mentioned it, others have mentioned it, a nationalized health scheme. Instead of paying private companies hundreds of millions of dollars for health insurance and so forth, and a nationalized pension scheme.
Right, indeed.
Had to use the pensions as an unemployment tax, as we saw. That's what happened. Essentially became to be used as an unemployment compensation tax that other countries have. So many things have got to be thought out about that. But we have to take this very seriously. This week of quarantine, many of us, our families have had to quarantine at various times because they had to travel and come. And we obeyed it. We strictly obeyed it and did not go and visit them or anything, provided with the proper way and so forth. That is it for 14 days. It's better to be quarantined and locked in for 14 days than to be locked down in a casket or an urn ad infinitum, forever. So I think people have got to understand that we must obey the rules. There are quite a few people amongst us, and I listen to them talking. I mean, know what I'm saying. They are not willing to obey the rules. We see them driving around, no license plates on their cars. Many, many times I see that. Their arms hanging out the windows of their cars. And they're playing the music. I don't call it music. That loud racket at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's nice to play some music. But something that's blaring, pounding, shaking your windows, waking everybody at 3, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the mornings and coming behind you in traffic. And nothing is being done about that. Nothing at all. It is amazing. It really is. These kinds of breaches, as these things build up and we ignore it, it becomes a serious issue after all. And that is what has happened here with this quarantine break-in.
Yeah, we ignore the small things, and the big things we ignore too, all right? Yeah. Hey, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Where are we going next, Miss Susan? Well, to the call in the queue. We can join you after this break. Please stay tuned.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real, though. 2 subs for the price of 1? And a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in-store for details.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
The hurricane season is not over yet. It's important to stay vigilant. Check your emergency kit to make sure it's fully stocked with critical items such as a 5-day water supply. That's 1 gallon of water per person per day. Stock extra water for persons with special needs such as nursing mothers, children, and people with illness. And don't forget to stock water for your pets. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
What do you do if you have to go to a shelter? To help you safely prepare, evacuate, and shelter while protecting yourself and others from COVID-19 this hurricane season, here's some tips from the Public Health Department. If you must go to a shelter, be ready to protect yourself and others. Practice social distancing of at least 6 feet from others. Follow public health's preventative actions. Wash your hands with soap and water, often if possible, or use hand sanitizer, cover coughs and sneezes, and wear masks or cloth face coverings. Get your COVID-19 vaccine when eligible. Avoid sharing food and drink with anyone. For more guidance to update your emergency hurricane plans due to coronavirus, visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
This is an important message from the Cayman Islands Needs Assessment Unit for Grand Cayman residents. If you live outside of Georgetown and need NAU assistance, then the NAU in our district program could be for you. This month, the NAU will be providing walk-in services at the East End Civic Center on Friday, 3rd September from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and at the Northside Public Library from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. At the Buddentown Public Library on Friday, 10th September from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and at the West Bay Public Library on Friday, 17th September from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Walk-in clients are asked to bring any supporting documentation along with them. For further details, email nauinfo@gov.ky or call 345-946-0024.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us as we go straight to our phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Great. How are you?
Blessed and thankful. You're always looking brighter than each day.
Well, I just want to put my little 2 cents in.
Thanks.
Because I think this thing is going to be like a wildfire. The government have to get together and decide really and do quick thinking what they're going to do, because it's a lot of people that are walking around here that maybe have the COVID and they don't know. And another thing, when you go to the hospitals, you go to the emergency, there is no one there cleaning the chairs, no one there wiping the door or the doorknobs. I mean, you go into these places and it's like money carries a lot of germ. Your hands carry a lot of germ. They need to do something, because later on, I'm afraid that we won't have enough beds in the hospital when this thing really gets out of hand. And I am telling you right now, it's only going to be a chosen few that will get those beds in the hospital. Definitely, I don't think the poor Caymanians will even have a chance to lie into those beds because they will probably be looking for the rich and the famous, and the poor Caymanians will be cast out. Like, I don't even want to say. But anyway, I am just trying to say I hope that the government will put on their head and their thinking caps and try to find a solution because it's way out of hand now, and I think they need to do something. No one wants their children to get sick. No one wants to be sick, and it's very sad that this is going through the whole island, and people don't even know if they have it or not. They need to have a plan. They need to start checking people. They need to go into the businesses. They need to go into supermarkets. If they even need to go into communities and random check people, I think this will be the only way that they will get a hold of this because there's people that have it and don't even know that they have it. So I'm not sure what's going to be done, but I think they really have to start and act on it now because maybe tomorrow or next week or next month will be too late. So that's my 2 cents for the day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Maybe this is an opportune time to invite our callers to share their thoughts. They can WhatsApp. They can send a voice note. And Miss Susan, I think there's a voice note in the queue. Hey, listen, we give her much work. I try hard not to give her much work.
The reopening of the borders and a few issues that people have some concerns with is I know some elderly people, the doctors have advised them not to take the vaccine due to underlying issues. So these people can't take the vaccine, and we're still going to open the borders regardless. If they catch it, they did and going, that's no problem to the government. Children that can't take the vaccine on the 12 now, we all know when children get sick, it spreads like wildfires in the schools. And there's no stopping it. We're such a small knit community. If it happens in the school, all the schools go shut down. And they've had some cases in the States where places that have had high volumes of COVID and the schools had to shut down. We're a very small community. We can't handle that. If one child gets sick, they all get sick. And that's what we're doing. We're opening our borders, and we're not caring about our elderly that can't take this vaccine, and we're not caring about our children that can't take it either. We just say, oh, well, they're children. The virus is not susceptible to them as it is in adults, but they're still susceptible. They can still catch it. They can still spread it. They can give it to the elderly. My children can give it to their grandparents. Their grandparents can give it to them. There's no stopping this. When will we put our foot down and have a voice?
View from that caller's perspective. And with that, let's take this other call. Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Hey, afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good. I just got to get my little piece in this one, too.
Go right ahead.
But I take my hat off to Mickey Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
He's the man of the century, and Mr. Orman from West Bay.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with what they said, and I agree with what they said we should do. Dwayne, back in the 1300s, I think it was, we had the Black Plague, the bubonic plague. I bet you know what they done back then? Did you see the documentary on that?
Mm.
You know that the people were hiding in their homes to keep from getting burnt up. The government was burning them up. They were sending these old donkey carts, because back then they never had no vehicles, to take you out of your house and throw you on that donkey cart and take you and burn you, because that was the end of you. But, I mean, we not got it that extreme. This virus is not that extreme. But what I'm saying is just to look back years ago, what the government had the strength to do and the power. That's what I'm looking at here. And I won't use a male anatomy in this conversation with you and me at this time.
Well, the political constitution is what you're saying, right? Yeah, okay.
Okay? And, and one thing I always hear them saying about human rights. I mean, human rights is about saving lives. It's about saving lives, isn't it? Or they're not? Because how can the human rights intervene in this and tell the people it's their right to not take the vaccine? That's what I would like to know. Because that's not saving lives. If the world has created a vaccine, that it will slow you down from getting too sick. It's not 100% to fight it off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all we have.
But if I were to go back to your comment, let's say we would employ the measure that you say we should, or you're suggesting, and that was used in the 1300s.
Yeah.
And they came into my house and your house and they did that. Whether we were ill or not, but believed to be, is that something that we should be considering today? That level?
No, I didn't say
no,
that.
No, you didn't.
No,
you didn't, right?
No.
But at what point would a step in this direction, at some point, whether tomorrow or 50 years from now, lead us down the road? I mean, remember now, we have made incremental steps. Insidious, some would say.
Well, I can tell you my opinion of it.
Mm-hmm.
It should all be mandatory vaccinated.
Mm.
Sorry. Unless you have some kind of underlying illness that you cannot handle that vaccine, whether you're allergic to whatever it is. Okay? Nobody knows whether you're allergic to it either, because it just came in the market not even a year yet.
But that is exactly people's points, right? That some object for different reasons. Some don't like to be forced. And would you, only if you wish, you can disconnect now. I see that indications indicate that the 2-hour clock hour is looming. Would you want to continue discussing after? Or
I will continue to discover because I want to say a lot more about it, sir.
Certainly want to allow you that time, and thank you for being so patient. All right, let's pause and hit the news, and when we come back, let's listen to what people have to say. Stay tuned.
Follow Radio K-Man on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio K-Man.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Public Health reassures the public after an additional 7 suspected quarantine breaches are reported to police over the weekend. 4 were reported on Saturday and 3 on Sunday, prompting government to yet again remind those in quarantine that only contactless deliveries are allowed. No other contact is permitted, and if you get busted breaking the rules, you could land yourself 2 years in jail and a fine of up to $10,000. Turning to international news now, the United Nations is seeking to raise more than $600 million in aid for Afghanistan, warning the country is facing a major humanitarian crisis. The plea for global support was made at a conference in Geneva and followed the Taliban's takeover last month. After decades of war, suffering, and insecurity, the Afghans faced perhaps their most perilous hour. That, according to Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the UN says the $606 million target will bring vital relief to millions. At least 240 prisoners have escaped in a prison break in Nigeria's north-central Kogi state after gunmen carried out a blitz attack on the facility, prison authorities said Monday. A spokesman for the Nigerian Correctional Service said in a statement, the correctional facility in Kogi's Kaba district came under fire from unidentified gunmen who raided the site and immediately engaged the armed guards in a fierce gun battle. And a statue of a black female slave in the French city of Bordeaux has been covered with white paint in an apparent racist attack, city officials said. The bronze statue is an African slave who was brought by a family in Bordeaux in the 18th century. She was later freed. The statue was found defaced on Monday morning, but has now been cleaned. Bordeaux City Hall said it would file a criminal complaint, saying it was probably racist in nature. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio K-Man. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio K-Man on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio K-Man app or log on to our website, radiokman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is Open Line as we end, sort of the last segment of today's production. We'll go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Very blessed, very thankful. And yourself?
All right. I just wanted to address your last caller, my fellow countryman there, just to correct one thing that he said or to add to it. No, he didn't imply. He said that human rights is about saving lives. But human rights is about exactly what it says, the rights of a human being. And it is as much to do with the right to freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom to say yes or no, I will take the vaccine, as it is about anything else. I just wanted to point that out, and I thought you would have as well. Human rights is not exclusive. As a matter of fact, it really has nothing to do with saving lives. Human rights are your human rights. It's self-explanatory. It's right there in the name. That's it.
Thank you for that.
That's for now.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's go back to the caller. Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Welcome. Thank you, Dwayne. That lady, I missed the first part of her statement about saving lives. Yes, human rights is about saving lives. So how come these people are hiding behind human rights now and saying that they have the right to not take this vaccine? Dwayne, I remember from I was a kid when we had smallpox, measles, but measles then wasn't that bad, but smallpox, and this other one there, polio. When those vaccines came out, it was the same thing. They had just created those vaccines. But people didn't argue about taking them. They were too bloody glad to take them. Why is it now that this generation, or at this point in time in the world, that people are against and rebellious about taking vaccines? Now, you said earlier when I stated it wasn't even a year old yet. Those vaccines back then were not a year old either. But they had nothing else to take. They had nothing else, and they were glad to take them. You had a lot of viruses, diseases. Listen, I was in Philadelphia going on a ship to Africa one trip and back in 1974. And they told me I could not leave the United States without having a vaccine, or I couldn't return back to the States. That was good governance. That's very good governance. Without the vaccine, you can't come back here.
Well, this is interesting, right? As I asked that question and recognizing that where we are now, even in the absence of some of the legal opinions that apparently have been requested by some of the Caribbean leadership, the political leadership, we gather that we are accepting that admission into schools, travel across borders into some countries have been mandated that you need to take certain vaccinations. In absence of that, you can't go to school or you can't do this. Is the balance between these two seemingly competing interests is what you were saying in the caller just prior was asking. How do we look after the safety and welfare of people by inoculating them? And how do we ask that we be respectful and responsible relative to people's choices? I've asked
that word choices. Choices.
Yeah, I've asked a number of individuals, physicians, and other people in the medical field, to get an understanding just for my my own edification. And honestly, it is conflicting and confusing at times because of the attempt to be politically correct as opposed to be scientifically accurate. And maybe that's one of the challenges, that we're not willing to listen to each other. We're so caught up in our perspective that we now become so disrespectful that we no longer have a meaningful dialogue. And whatever discourse is there.
Well, I tell you now, I'm a Trump supporter. I don't believe in political correctness. Science. I believe in science. Political correctness, no. And that's the problem we have today. That's why we're having what we have in here now. That's why we can't decide what to do, because of the political correctness. But
okay.
Let me mention one thing. Didn't we jail? Let's get back to the incident on the weekend where this person came in and created a whole havoc in the island. Now that everybody have to actually walk around now wearing masks in public, some public places won't allow you there unless you wear a mask. Didn't we jail a young lady last year for breaking the rules? We did, right?
We did, yeah.
Yes. Now, I want to know if that person or persons will be also jailed or in prison for breaking the rules. Because apparently they broke the rule. I don't know. I haven't really got in depth into it. But from what I can hear, she shouldn't have been here on the flight. She shouldn't have been on that flight. Who let her on the flight?
Mm-hmm.
And this morning, I won't mention that part. Something about the authorities over there in Jamaica and authorities here, whether we have an agreement with them, whatever. I would think this is global. But yes, I would like to know if somebody will go to jail for this. And I understand now, I think on your station I just heard where there's 2 years jail sentence for breaking the rules. Now we need to start implementing them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We need to start implementing them. This is between life and death. This is not about a stick of ganja that you can throw one of our little youth in jail for 5 years without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is life and death. Let them carry out these punishments. They have to carry it out. Otherwise, the people doing what I notice, and I read a lot and I do a lot of researches, the world is becoming rebellious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We got a lot of rebellious people in the world. And I heard my friend Mickey spoke earlier about the noise. I mean, what happened to our town ordinance or city ordinance in this country?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can jump up and put all this boom, 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 boom. It sounds like you're in one of those African states where they're dancing to get rain to come.
Mm-hmm.
It's not music, but it's still going on.
Yep.
It's rude. It's rude. It's pure, absolute rudeness for you to get a boom out in the town and your vehicle, the car tops coming off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't want to get too deep into this whole issue here.
Fair enough, man.
Come away from what we were talking about. I think I will hang up now and let someone else say what I have to say, but I had to get my point across.
Okay. Well, certainly appreciate you sharing that as we go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Afternoon. How are you?
Pretty good. Hope I get my point across too. I wish I was close by Stan so I could shake his hand, because a lot of stuff that he's saying is so real and so true, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I hope I get an opportunity to express myself. Sterling, when I was living in Florida, I was in a sports shop one time,
mm-hmm.
and I had this young lady helping me, and she looked at me. I don't know, when she did look at me face to face, after looking for a shirt on the rack, she said, "You from the islands?" I said, "Why?" So she raised up her shirt sleeve and showed me her vaccination. You know how you get a vaccination? Yeah, it's going to leave a spot in your arm.
Yeah, many of us have that, yeah.
Yeah, I got it, and Menabor has it. So
right.
She saw it on me, and she raised up her sleeve and her blouse, and she said, "I'm from the islands too."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Which one you from?" I said, "The Cayman Island." And she told me the one that she was from.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to identify that vaccine shot in your arm,
right.
That was something, it felt good, and to see that somebody can identify you, to know that that's how we get our vaccines here, and that's the effect that we have in our skin from our vaccine as a kid coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But Sterling, I'm not here to degrade anybody, and to disrespect anyone. I just like to voice my opinion, and my opinion doesn't have to be for everybody, and they can dislike it, and they can like it or hate it, or whatever the case may be. But Sterling, in spite of what happened last week, and the government had just came out talking about the virus and so forth, and people was asking if, are we going to go back and lock down, and are we going to start wearing masks, and the government saying no, he's going to leave it up to in other words, leave up to individuals to wear masks, and we should watch our, continue to wear masks and watch our distance and keep our hands clean and yakety yak, yakety yak.
Mm-hmm.
And while the meeting was going on, this flight came in.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know what the tender could be for that individual, but Sterling, it is costing our government lots of money. Lots of money. One individual. If that person had loved herself, loved the Cayman Islands, and decided to come here, whatever mixed up they had at the airport in Jamaica, and our people here could pick it up at the airport, I take my hat off to my people at the airport, and thank God she was not let out to the front door to come and do a community more spray. You know what I mean? But Sterling, if that lady's on a work permit, or she's a citizen of this island or resident, whatever we may call it, Sterling, no disrespect to her. If it was me, I would want it happen to me. Deport me and send me back to my country. If it was me, I would want to be deported back to my country. These people know that this virus is out here, killing people left and right. Cayman been pretty safe for a while. Now we got people doing home quarantine, and it's not working. The government needs to put them back in the facilities and let them pay whatever it costs to house them. And we got to ban these flights from Jamaica, no disrespect to anyone, and we need to ban England for a while until we can get some of this, what's happening right now, under control, Sterling. It's not looking good. And they're talking about opening up next month. I think we can have a more lockdown than we can have a open if this continues, because when people do not respect this country and they do not respect the people of this country, we are too pretty safe right now that they can't deal with it. So they say, you know what? I'm going to try to spread as much as possible. They don't care. And we got to do something about it. We cannot let them run through the crack. We don't hear what the penalties are. We don't hear what the charges are. We don't hear if they're going to jail. We don't hear that they're deported. They got us under a hush-hush leaf, and we got to live here. We should know how to move around in our country and what to look for and what not to look for. We are our own prisoners in our own country. We got gunmen walking across us and we don't even know. We got some walking across with the virus and we don't even know. This hush-hush got to stop. We need to open up and let everybody know what's going on. I don't care if it be Mary Jean or Alice or Dick or Harry or Jan. Tell the island who it is so we can protect ourselves and our children that they can't even help themselves. So I just thank you, and we need some real protection. And if the government come out tonight and say that we're going to close this country down, I take my hat off to them, which means we can't afford to. But hey, people that's coming in here and doing the crap that they're doing, they're the one that's going to mess up things for us Caymanians that living here. So I don't know who this person is, if she was paper Caymanian or just a visitor. And if she was a visitor and she was having problems on that flight coming in, I would have turned that plane around and head back to Jamaica and let off everything in Jamaica and shoot up in the air and come back to the Cayman Islands and tell her what happened.
Okay.
Just like that, Sterling.
Just like that. All right, well, just like that. Thank you for that. And we'll pause, and when we come back, we'll take all of our callers. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
20 years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the Falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
So much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's back, and it's bigger than ever. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents PACE, the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. That's right, parents, kids, young and old. We want you to be a part of the movement to help bring awareness to the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Starting at the Lions Community Center on Sunday, September 19th. Registration fee is only $25 and includes a free shirt and gift bag. The more people that sign up and register, the bigger the fight against prostate and colon cancer. Sunday, September 19th at the Lions Center. Get ready to pace yourself as the Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents the annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life 5K walk, 10K run, and 15K ride event. For additional information, please feel free to contact 938-1711 or 526-1711. Sign up today on CaymanActive.com.
For additional information, please email pace@cnw.ky.
The Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life is proudly sponsored by Dart Enterprise, Cayman Seafarers, Maples Group, Bodden Holdings, CUC, Water Authority, and NTEC.
Let positive achievements, talent, and hard work be seen and acknowledged. The Proud of Them nominations period for round 13 of the awards program is now open until September 30th. This Youth Services Unit initiative, in partnership with the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture, and Heritage, is a platform to showcase 15 young persons ages 10 to 25 who have excelled in the categories of academics, careers, business, sports, culture, and community service. For more information on how to nominate, email info.ysu@gov.ky. Nominate a deserving person today. Acknowledge them because we are proud of them.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as we go to our phones, a couple of WhatsApps. This one is quickly reads, says, my take on the situation is if she's a permit holder, revoke it. If she has status, revoke it. Perhaps this was an act. All right, well, let's take the next caller. Good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back, sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you again.
Yes, sir.
The brief. Firstly, I had no idea that Cayman doesn't have an electron microscope. They've been around for possibly more than 80 years, electron microscopes. And I know we're very advanced with MRIs and things like that. I didn't know that. That's what Doctor alluded to. Thank Mr. Hill for his kind words. We have to look at human rights in perspective. After that infamous incident that took place 20 years ago, this Saturday gone, the President of the United States, George Walker Bush, did invoke orders that removed certain human rights basics. He has the authority and the power to do that there. And phones were allowed to be tapped. They still are, when it's considered that those calls might be very detrimental in the course of investigations into terrorists and so forth, if they're allowed to not be monitored. And that is there. It's to save lives. To save lives is what it's all about initially. If you look at what happens during the course of when there are states that have the execution it's still on the books, and when they're putting a heinous, brutal murderer to death, you'll see the same people who are shouting out that you're allowed, abortion should be allowed, the murder of innocent little unborn children. They're the same ones who get up and go outside the prisons and demonstrate and say, save this person's life. Look at it and you'll see it's the same persons. So let us not mix this thing up with politics. This human rights issue. There are times when the rights of the majority must supersede, I say must and must again, supersede the rights of the minority. And this, in my opinion, is one of those times. And if the government says mandatory vaccinations, I'm right behind them. And if they say lockdown again, we have elected these people to try to run our island, our country. So let us have the faith in them to run it properly. We've seen how successful we have been with this COVID thing. Let us continue to obey them. And those who are not willing to obey must face some dire consequences. Thank you very much.
And thank you too, sir. And with that, let's take another caller. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Mr. Ben.
Yes, sir. How are you, my friend?
Hot way.
Some days. And that's just at work. How are you, man?
I'm fine, man. I'm still in the heat. So hold on, I gotta get killed if I don't take the vaccine. What sense I make give me the vaccine?
I think, as it's going on, I think it's unfortunate that we are adopting such a level of division and discord within our society that we can't have sensible discussion. It is vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, all vexing in a sense. And we wonder how responsible we are in our comments one to another, in our reporting, in our reading, and in our sharing. And it's a different...
What are you describing there? That's a Nazi times, man. And into that, no more, what I mean?
No respect, or no sense of reasonableness, I think, is evident in our response. So I'm wondering about it. Where are we indeed?
What would be why we should lock down? Because there's no way you're going to tell me to take the vaccine forcingly. I don't know how you're gonna do that.
Well, it is. Let me read this for just 1 second and perhaps try to attempt to answer something. It says, afternoon, with regard to the caller's comments with respect to why we took vaccination years ago and now we don't want this COVID-1, I think perhaps there are two reasons. One, now that we have the internet and better communication, people have more chances to investigate. And the other reason is because this vaccine is not made like the quote-unquote normal vaccines, in that it employs a new technology. So if we are prepared to force people to do something, we see mandates from courts relative to forced sterilization and the like. Some protocols in some jurisdictions relative to sexual offenses, forced castration, different things. We see precedents perhaps being alluded to, if not set, that in order to do certain things, travel is one of them, that you need to take certain certain vaccinations and the like. Even educational institutions, whether primary or tertiary, college campuses saying, well, you need this. Is it, as some have suggested, that it's just a sign of times, end time prophecy? Is it that some have suggested, well, it's just a move towards, a uniform approach to governance? We see jurisdictions, sort of uniform tax codes being proposed. Is it that it becomes easier to administer? Back in the early days, the British through its military power, had many colonies, and they were administered for.
Now it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing now.
Right. So.
Because the one with the knowledge don't follow the crowd. So if they jealous because they don't got me joining the crowd, I can't be that.
But is it that we're not, again, considerate, tolerant, and I'm mindful that even in my small little circle, that there have been heated discussions I've witnessed where people just asking questions, and some are very, very, very much more passionate about their position than others. Someone asks the question, is it being reported? Is it now accepted that the person who is unvaccinated, is that person putting the vaccinated one at more risk? Now, that may be the case. That may be just be a misunderstanding. But is it illogical to think that if you have a vaccination and one person who doesn't, if they go into a space where a virus is present, is the vaccinated person more protected than the unvaccinated?
No. Because you see the vaccinated person, there's still 50% whether or not to catch the virus again.
Yeah.
But when somebody heal on their own, they're not going to catch it again. They got to be stronger and stronger than the one with the vaccine.
Fair enough.
They got to keep on needing what they call a booster shot.
Mm-hmm.
Because the virus keeping on mutating.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I said, the virus don't want you to die. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Right.
They want you to just keeping on. So you just keeping on. You vaccinated, playing pool with your vaccinated friends, passing the virus on and on and on. So it keep on mutating. But
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell these people that because what? They're afraid to stand up on the coconut trees.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's the place where maybe it is that we've heard politicians somewhat in jest talk about never let a good crisis go to waste. Maybe it's the human psyche to be fearful, and when we are afraid, we are more subjected to perhaps illogical reasoning. Maybe some of us are just too complacent and inconsiderate. Maybe it is that some of us believe that we know more than what we actually do, so therefore, because of our position or our persona, we believe that people should just do as we say. Respect and love would go a long way.
Yeah. I know they know that goes further than money, and even it could get so bad that the money is infected too. You understand? It's not be passed around either. Remember, 2 years ago, them cartel members, they left all the money on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Trillions of money all over the United States, and just on the sidewalk. They didn't want nothing to do with it. Right after that, they went and took over an avocado field.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody can get how that goes, okay. You can't tell these people that because they thinking say they're going to get money and then try buy food or something from up in the States or something like that, when everything up in the States. Along arm and the legs for.
Well, I'll tell you, man, it's interesting to see how things have sort of gradually get into a place where we no longer can have meaningful discussion, even amongst friends and family.
Don't get me wrong, you're supposed to have fair and fair. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But when the fact comes out,
mm-hmm.
you can't drown out each other. The one that is right, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But it's part of the problem that the perception is, one, we're very increasingly distrustful of authority, businesses, governments, churches, and the like. And two, what may be presented as fact isn't, or when it's supposed to be a scientific comment, there are words that are used that you find more in economic speech, where it sounds like, well, if this is the case, then that will be, it might be this, probably that, there's not enough specificity in what is being said. So people are saying, well, it's not absolutely 100%, so could it be? And I'm just wondering if that's one of the challenges for those who hang on to certain words in the absence of absolute sort of instructive outcomes. They're skeptical.
No, they know the number one outcome, but they just try and delay it.
Okay.
That's the whole problem.
There you go. Well, we're at that hour, man. If you want a final comment, go right ahead. If not, we'll chat with you when we can.
No one. All I know is it's very hot, and let me say something about these times when people minding each other business.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you know, right? Minding your business at these times, everybody business at these times, will cost you, you know, because you might walk right up on them and get coughed on.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if we continue to be divided, then we may never get to a place where we can work together for the greater good.
What about the whole group doing something for all of us? What about the government telling them to cut down the light bill? What about them telling say cut down the water bill, cut down the mortgage, all them? When they can't tell us, say, yo, we in a global pandemic. Yeah, it's serious for me to get a shot, but they're not serious enough for you to come out and say, yo, I'll help you.
Yeah. So there are other issues then that we need to look at. To maybe as some have said, you know, the cortisol levels, because we're stressed, may make us more susceptible to illnesses. Perhaps if people don't have that level of stress when it comes to paying their bills and putting food on the table, maybe they won't feel so susceptible to illnesses. Who knows, huh? All right. Well, thank you, man. Thank you, and hope this week is not just very safe and productive, but enjoyable and relaxing. All right. Blessings, dear. Blessings. And to all our listeners, it's a time to talk and a time to listen, but if we're talking and not listening, if you're thinking and not acting, if you're acting without thinking, well, can we actually be effective? 949-8037 is a number that we want you to have alongside 1-800-534-8255. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon as you go about it. You know, be careful, kind and considerate. Be cautious and cognizant. And above all, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman, the voice